You're listening to Rise Up, stories of recovery, resilience, and renewal with Matthew Tobe.
And it can all go downhill. All right, everybody, it is Matt Tobe. You're watching Rise Up and listening to Rise Up, stories of recovery, resilience, and renewal. Today, my guest, you all know from years gone past, he was one of the stars of the Mighty Ducks. He was Goldberg as well as heavyweights, plus so many other things you're doing right now. I want to introduce you to Shaun Weiss. Shaun, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Nice to be with you.
Well, thanks for coming. So let's talk about a whole bunch of things. So we talked about it briefly a little while ago. You've got your third year of sobriety and recovery coming up on January 25th of 23. That's awesome.
It's gonna be a dry party, but it's gonna be a good party.
That's gonna be a good party, a great party. So we got 3 years coming up, but let's back up, right? Like these are the big momentous things that we want to celebrate. You and I both know we got to celebrate every single day, right? But let's talk about where you started. Let's go back. So you came to popularity, and I did a lot of digging on you, Shaun. Like I've known you, and I, like many other people, grew up watching you, right? The Mighty Ducks. All three of my boys play hockey, so they're all into it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So doing more digging, what I didn't know is you were on the Pee Wee Herman show.
That was my first, legit TV show. And I've been doing commercials, and my agent bought me a spot in this magazine called The Hollywood Reporter, which is an industry publication. And in their yearly magazine, I was like the back cover or the inside back cover, and that picture really got me a lot of attention. And I think Paul said that he noticed me from that picture and requested that I come in and audition from the show from that picture. So that picture really started it for me.
That's great.
It pays to get a good headshot.
100%. Headshots, as great as your phone is on the the selfie, a proper headshot can go a long way.
Right. Well, it doesn't even. I don't even think it matters if you can take a good selfie on your phone, as long as it's a good picture. I can close my eyes and remember the picture. I can remember the pose. So the content is, quality over quantity.
Absolutely. And, speaking of headshots and pictures, I mean, essentially, let's jump forward a second. What got you more attention recently in the last couple of years was, I believe, about coming to 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. I think it was your 1 year anniversary of sobriety, where there was a picture you had posted. I believe it was you posted of your before and your after. There's that picture of you when you were in the ends of addiction, I do believe, and that got my attention. I'm like, I gotta look into this, and I celebrated. I threw you all over my Instagram. I celebrated because I know how hard it is, right? And there's always reasons why we go into that. So, just putting those two together, pictures say 1,000 things, and there's a lot of value to them. And when you look back at those pictures, I mean, it's crazy. So you're in Pee Wee Herman. You got a role for Goldberg and the Mighty Ducks, which is really what blew you up, right? Listen, we all know this in hindsight. I'm sure you know this as well. Goalies are crazy.
Definitely. Absolutely. Why would you do that to yourself? All the other guys are skating around, having fun, shooting the puck and stuff. And you want to be the guy that's just standing there getting pelted with rubber bullets?
Right.
It's obvious insanity. Yeah, we don't even have to talk about it. It's obvious.
Did you actually play hockey though?
No, I wasn't even a fan of hockey, and I was mad that I got that part in that movie. I wanted to be in a football movie or a baseball movie or even a basketball movie. Why hockey? But during
there weren't many hockey movies.
Right. I mean, it was just not a popular sport, but during the filming of the first movie, through learning the game and going to hang out with some of the players, I really fell in love with the sport.
Right. That's awesome. And then after that came heavyweights, a lot of TV.
Yeah, I
right?
did.
So
not many people, I guess, it's not really in the awareness of people, but I probably did over 200 episodes of television.
Yeah, when you look into it, like, and celebrated shows, you were on Freaks and Geeks.
I was, yeah.
Right? Like you have some seriously celebrated shows that people still miss and love.
A lot of people recognize me from King of Queens. I get a lot of attention from that show.
Yeah. That's amazing. So then you have all this. You're in the limelight. You have all this. I'm sure being called Goldberg repeatedly probably got a bit annoying.
Not really.
No, you took it. So then
it's like a fun nickname, you know.
Okay, so where did things start to go awry?
Well, I mean, I had a few things happen within the same time. I lost my dad. I lost my lease on my apartment. A job that I thought was going to bring me a lot of fortune and success fell through. And the romantic relationship I was in fell through. So all four of those things happening in a short period of time, it was just too much for me. And I cracked.
Yeah.
You know, when I say cracked, I mean in the sense that I started to get high, and getting high was more fun and cool to me than it was to figure out where I should sleep at night. So that's cracking, right? So basically that's what happened. Just the pressures of life became too much for me, and I found relief when I started using meth and heroin. My head felt better. I didn't have this pressure on my chest that I had, that feeling because of all the stress I was under. And all that went away when I started to use. And for the first 5 or 6 months, I would say it was probably a very fun time. I was really unaccountable to anyone for the first time in my life. I didn't have to check in and tell anyone where I was, and I enjoyed that. And kind of playing the part of like street hustler, hanging out with like some dangerous guys and like some gang guys. I enjoyed like the thrill and the danger of that. So before I really just became totally unhinged, it was kind of a fun adventure or fantasy for me. And I have a joke in my stand-up where I say, you don't have a drug problem until you run out of money. Like, if you have money, you're just getting high and having fun. But if you're addicted to a drug and you run out of money, now you have a drug problem.
Yes. I have a friend of mine who said, it's not a problem if money can fix it.
That's a great saying. And it applies to everything.
That's everything, right? It's not a problem if money can fix it. The problem occurs if it can't be fixed, and money can't fix most things. Yeah. So when you were using, did these gangs and these dealers, did they know who you were?
Yeah, they did, and a lot of them embraced me until they started robbing me. So that ran its course also.
Sadly, there's not a lot of trust in dealers and that community, right? Unfortunately.
And I really was fooled into thinking that I had some kind of camaraderie there, but I didn't know what I was dealing with, But, the benefit of who I was, honestly, probably, I don't know. It probably saved me from getting hurt in a lot of situations because they didn't want to have the attention that would probably be brought to them by doing something like that. But I probably was in several situations where if I didn't have my history, I might not be sitting here talking to you. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. I mean, I was in some pretty tight spots.
Yeah, I can imagine because you were so what year was that? When you lost your dad and your apartment?
That would be 2016.
2016. And that's some serious trauma. So people don't talk about this a lot, is that when we go down that road of addiction and drug abuse and alcohol abuse and all these things, there's so much trauma. And we're now starting to talk about, big T, little t, like these traumas that occur. but people are so used to them being, oh, well, this happened when I was a kid, right? You weren't a kid when your traumas all hit you.
That's right. I mean, look, I definitely had, and probably still do have, some things to unpack from my childhood that definitely molded me as an adult and created some of the negative behaviors that I have. That's for sure. But I will tell you that now, in my current state, I do have PTSD from the trauma that I suffered as an adult. So,
right.
So yeah, definitely in my case, I had a good childhood, and I really couldn't blame my addiction or my addictive personality on my childhood, really. As convenient and as easy as it would have been.
But at the same time, when you say, like, in 2017, 16, you lose your dad. Were you close, I'm assuming?
We were best friends, yeah.
Right. Okay, that's traumatic.
Yeah.
Right? You lose a job you thought you had. You lose your apartment. Like,
so
these are all trauma.
I don't mean to interrupt you. It wasn't only just like a job I thought I had, but I was making a show, and I had about 25 or 30 people, cast and crew, that were all believing in me that I would like lead them to this promised land, because everyone was working for free, and it was just this labor of love that we were all working on. And I had kind of convinced them all, just trust me and I'll get you there. And so when it didn't go through, it was much more disappointing and much more decompressing than just a job that didn't, pan out. It was really my life's work got rejected.
That's unbelievable. That's trauma. But that's a lot. That's heavy to weigh on. You also, even going into that, having all that responsibility on your shoulders where, it just wasn't happening, that's a lot to carry, even going into it before it failed. Right?
I totally agree.
Like that's so that happens. Now, when you dealt with that, how long would you say the time period would be from everything happening?
I would
first
say
step was your father
found out my show wasn't going to get picked up. 3 months later, my lease was up. A month after that, my fiance left me. Oh, and then before the lease was up, my dad died. So show doesn't get all within 6 months, 7 months from the time where the show didn't go, and then the lease ran out. And obviously, our lease was getting paid by the show. So when that ended, everything ended.
Right, got it. That's unreal. So then, from there, let's try to get a timeline here, because were you using anything beforehand?
I was dabbling, and I've always used alcohol and marijuana, but no, I'd never even seen a street drug really until I got involved with those guys. Right. So I'd never had a problem with that stuff ever. So basically, I start using, and 5 or 6 months into it, I start becoming dependent on it, and I run out of money. And, because I'd had some savings. And so I run out of money completely, and I'm hanging out with these guys on the street, and I see what they do to get their money, and there's only a few things to do. You can steal stuff, or you can do sex favors. So I got in trouble for stealing stuff a lot.
Right. You weren't a good thief. You were a good drug addict, but you weren't a good thief.
I think I was a pretty good thief. I mean, I stole every single day about $1,000 worth of retail, and I got caught maybe 7 or 8 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that got you in prison.
Well, I went to jail, and it wasn't really on any petty theft charges. It was a separate thing. So no, it didn't really land me in prison. The most it landed me was like 4 or 5 days county jail. Which was, when I would get arrested, I would always look around and be like, geez, it's freezing out there. So I'm just going to get some rest while I'm here. It was always kind of like a hotel to stay at for a couple nights.
I've heard that. I even heard when I went to rehab for myself, it was like eye-opening to me. And a lot of what I learned, there were people that were there for the 5th, 6th, 7th time. And it was because it was 3 weeks of a warm bed and 3 square meals a day.
Yep.
Right. And that was a whole, like, we don't realize that. We don't realize it. There's so much more to the addiction process. So when you've gone through all this, where are you living?
I was just on the street. I didn't even have a tent. So like a lot of guys, after they get on the street, they set up somewhere in a tent. And I never did that. When thinking about it, I feel like I never did that because that would be me admitting that I was homeless. And
right.
I just never had the heart to do that. So I wasn't living anywhere. I would bounce around from different pockets of the valley where I live. I would stay a couple months here, then I would get in fights and start owing people money. So then I'd leave and go somewhere else. And I just did kind of like this loop around the valley of LA for like almost 3 years. It's crazy to think about it. When I look back, honestly, it feels like it was somebody else.
But okay, well, with that being said, it was somebody else. It was you, but it was somebody. It wasn't the you who you are now. It was somebody else.
Definitely. I agree with that completely. Because I had lost myself. I had lost my sense of self. And, I had, really what it was, I guess I was technically suicidal, but I didn't have the guts to, like, hurt myself. So I just didn't really want to live.
Yeah.
I didn't care to live anymore. And, the using was just a way to, cloud everything up so I didn't have to deal with any of my emotions, I guess.
Yeah. That's why I drank. It was an escape. It suppressed everything. It numbed the world out.
Right.
And that's how we just lived. That it's, we try to tell people, you can't really explain what that really feels like. Like, imagine being in a place where you just want to numb yourself out. And that's numbing out your pain. And then all of a sudden you have a brand new pain that comes up along with it. And now I gotta numb that. I can't believe I'm doing it. So when you're on the street, did you ever turn around and think like, this is where I was 5 years ago and now I'm here? Like, did that add to it? It must have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the trauma of my own just predicament also was very stressful. And, like I talk about this 5 or 6 month mark where I was kind of having fun. From after that, I really didn't want to be on the street. I wanted to get clean. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have the resources. And the only options that were available to me were a couple of the state-run facilities that are in California. They were just dumps, and I tried to go there and I didn't want to be there. I left immediately. So I was out there, but didn't want to be out there. And it was painful when people would know who I was and they would ask me, what are you doing? What the hell's going on? I had drug dealers that would literally, like, I had this one guy assault me several times and then tell me he did it so I would get off the street. You get what I'm saying? He's kicking my ass so I would maybe think I shouldn't be out here anymore. Do I believe him? I don't know. Maybe.
It's a far extreme tough love, I think.
That's tough love. You said it, man.
That's some serious tough love. So then what happens is, so you then jail a couple times. What was your breaking point, Shaun? What got you, like, we all have that breaking point. Like, I know what mine was. What got you going?
Well, I
don't want to do this.
Like I say, I had wanted to get clean. And I was in Marysville, up by where my sister lives. It's Northern California. And I got in trouble up there. And I was facing some actual charges for the first time, to where I could actually be in a jail cell for a year or 3 years. And so the judge there, Deborah Givens, wonderful lady, decided that I'd be a good candidate for the diversion program, where they give you a chance to try to get your life back together before they just throw you in a jail cell. And I saw that as a tremendous opportunity. And I had some friends.
Absolutely.
I had some friends in Los Angeles arrange for me to go to really reputable treatment facility out here, and the court agreed to let me go out of the county. So I had a lot of people bending over backwards to help me out, and I just knew that I had to seize the opportunity, and that's the good news. If you want to get better and you try to get better, sprinkle in a little prayer, it will happen. Mm-hmm. So it's possible, and it's probably the most supportive community on the planet is somebody trying to get clean. If you're somebody,
yes,
there's such a supportive net out there from the NA groups, AA groups, just any treatment place that you go to, you'll find nobody's working there besides just loving people that are totally empathetic to what you're going on and compassionate. So it's the help is out there if you want it and you decide you want it. And it's actually, I don't want to say easy, okay, but recovery is the only thing I can think of where you achieve success by not doing something.
Right?
It's like all I have to do is nothing. I think I can do that.
Right.
So yeah.
Because we also know, especially being on the street and the things you had to do to make money and to afford it, the drug problem you had of not having money, not having to do all that to get your high. That's like so relaxing.
Yeah, man, it's not it's a very heavy monkey on your shoulder when you've got to make $150 appear out of thin air and you're living on the street. It's daunting.
Right.
I do think sometimes, what if I had put that energy that I spent doing that into something worthy? Like where would I be? How much would I have accomplished? Because it's not easy, that life, it's way easier to just get a job, be a waiter or something, than it is to try to go rip off Best Buy every day. So, the real important thing.
You woke up for one morning. You didn't say, you know what I want to do?
I didn't know.
I want to go rip off Best Buy.
What was that last question?
So, you don't wake up going, I want to rip off Best Buy. This is not it's not the career choice of the day. So when you have all that and you did your diversion program, what was the program itself? So you were in a treatment center.
Yeah, I went to an inpatient treatment center for 90 days. I think most people go for 30. I was there for 90 at my request. I didn't want to leave. I loved it there. And so I went there for 90 days, and then it was a court order that I live in a sober living for, I think 1 year, where they would have, correspondence with my house managers, and I would have to UA twice a week. So I did that for 1 year, and along with that, there were some other check marks that I had to meet, like getting a bank account and stuff like that, getting my ID. They really try to set you up for success. And,
right.
And I also had to do, I think, 120 AA meetings. Or NA meetings. I could do whichever one I wanted. So that was part of the requirement. And, it was during the pandemic, so unfortunately all those were Zoom meetings, basically.
Yeah. And how did you find those? Were they a challenge for you?
No, I wouldn't say it was challenging. I would have preferred the in-person aspect of it because I would have liked to have made connections, and I think that would have been crucial at that time. And so it was a little hard to do over the Zoom. But no, listen, throughout this whole time, Matt, I felt like a gift had been given to me of a second chance, and I've always been very mindful of that. And if I was in a Zoom where I felt bored or frustrated or I didn't like it, I always tried to remind myself of the alternative. I could be in jail or dead. And I just saw that as like putting work into my own recovery. That put into my head early on that even when I was sweeping a floor in the house or if I was cleaning the toilet, this is all work I'm putting into my recovery. So when I made that change in my mind, then you couldn't overburden me because I was like, bring it on, give me more work to do.
Right. And I love how that we're talking the word recovery. Like recovery, it really is. You said it before, like how freeing it was, and how like the easiest thing about recovery is all you have to do to be successful is not use. Right. You don't do anything.
Right.
recovery is so powerful. Like when we are in recovery, there's nothing more powerful. And I say every day, like I'm 17 years next week. I'm still in recovery, right? I haven't fully recovered. Somebody asked me once, they said, well, what do you mean not fully recovered? I said, I feel great. I'm here. I'm doing this. But for me, I'm still in that level. I find that a very powerful place to be. And somebody said to me, well, do you think you can ever drink again? And I said, yeah. You can? I said, I can drink whatever
you want. Yeah.
Like, it's not like someone's saying you can't. Like, I can do whatever I want to do.
Right.
The recovery is choosing not to do it. That's so powerful. Because there was a period of time where I didn't think I had that choice. Where I needed, like you said, we just needed to numb it out. We needed to escape from it. We needed it because that was just how we rolled. Like that's how we had to get through day to day. So then you've done the living, the sober living. How did you find sober living? The sober living house. How did you find that?
I've there's a lot of coming and going. So I'm at a place now where guys have kind of been here, but I've probably met over 100 young men in the last 2 years and had them as roommates. So how do I find it? I find it challenging, but at the same time liberating, because if you can live in this situation, then you can handle really anything life will throw at you. So I use it really as practice just to get good at relationships, because that's one thing I wasn't really good at in my old life. I haven't done the best to, nurture and take care of the relationships that I should have. So I use it as practice for that.
And you're still in sober living house.
Yeah. I still live at a sober living.
That's amazing.
And, I'm thinking about, and I've been looking at apartments and looking at places, and I wonder if I'll feel lonely if I go and get my own spot.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to the kind of the frat house feeling of it here.
Yeah,
and I'm the old guy, and so these guys kind of treat me with a little more respect than they show each other.
Right.
Thanks God.
So you're the elder,
right?
You're the sober house living elder.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I just as you said that, I was just thinking that same thought of, I wonder if it would be too quiet living somewhere else.
Might be. I think that's probably subconsciously why I haven't left, because I've had a year now where I haven't had to be here. So that might be it.
But it's also great. You do. I know when I was using, you don't nurture proper relationships. I remember when I got sober, and before I went into my program, like the night before I went to my program, one of the guys said to me, just so you know, the amount of friends you think you have right now, when you come out of this, they will all be able to fit on the back of a motorcycle. And it made me realize I really didn't have any real relationships outside of my wife, right? Which was strained at that point in time. So you've done that. You're almost 3 years into sobriety and clean living. Where are we now? Other than the sober living house, where are we now? Tell everyone what you're doing, because Rise Up is stories of resilience. And I think anybody in recovery is resilient as hell, because we've gone and we've seen things that most people don't see. And then the renewal, which is what I always love about it, because we are like, I've never met, it's a funny thing about this, I've never met somebody in recovery. We always had interesting lives and things happened while we were using. Crazy things happened, right?
Yes.
And then we're clean. And crazy things are still happening. The things that don't happen to normal people in their everyday boring lives. Talk to me about your renewal. So you've come through this. You literally, when I post this up on YouTube, I will show some images of where you were, right, when you came out. You're a different human being. You're not even recognizable who you were now to then 4 years ago. So tell everyone who's listening to this, Where are you now? What happened when you came out of this and all of a sudden you're seeing the world and you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing Shaun Weiss for the first time in a long time?
Well, I mean, first of all, I guess to pick up the story where we left off, I decided to work on myself, and I just literally shut things off, outside stuff, I cocooned myself for a year, and I just wanted to make this better. And,
Right.
consistency pays off. Trying to eat right, I do yoga every day, trying to monitor the kinds of things that go into my senses, and just staying positive, keeping positive thoughts. So, I've just been working on me and I'm stronger than ever. I feel better than ever, and I'm not giving you bullshit. And I feel like I'm funnier than ever. I've been working on my stand-up comedy for the first time. I'm actually focusing on that, and that's been great. People are like, they're so supportive, Matt. Like, I get on stage and I feel like, typically they're like, okay, comedian, make us laugh. And I get up there and I feel like they're like, you can do it, Goldberg. So that's amazing. And I'm having a lot of fun doing that, like the journey of like building my act, because I'm not an established comedian. So, the thrill of doing that is what I'm encapsulated in right now. And, that's just it. I would love to get back into some acting work, and I'll probably try to get an agent soon. And then I've been going out doing signings all over the country, really, at conventions. And that's been a thrill, because I get there and people just one after one just come up to me and love bomb me for 10 minutes and just wish me well and wish me support and love. And it's very, fulfilling to have those kinds of interactions all day. So I love doing those. And, that's pretty much what my life has been.
Well, you got to remember, especially playing, Goldberg and being in heavyweights, like you were a part of so many people's lives, right? So you loved bomb on them for so many years. Like my kids were never around.
That's nice.
When you did those movies, and they love your character. They love who you are. They love that means a lot to a lot of people. When you play a part in someone's life growing up, right, you're going to get that back 1,000-fold, right? So that's what I love.
Honestly, I really didn't know the impact those movies had on a lot of people until the showing of Love and Support after what happened to me. I just didn't know. I didn't know that Heavyweights was helpful to kids that were heavy and felt depressed or didn't want to go to school because of that, and they saw Heavyweights and they were cool and they were funny, and it literally changed the way they could operate. That was incredible to know. I really didn't know it was like that. So I think what you said, how you said it, was perfectly put, and thank you for saying that. It's kind of true.
Yeah, it absolutely is true. Listen, I know that, I saw Mighty Ducks in the theater when it came out, and I was like, this is like, we just loved it, right? And I don't think with the way they portrayed that team, I was so bad at hockey, and yes, I've coached all three of my kids since then, but I was so bad as a hockey player, I wouldn't have even made that team. Like, that's how bad I was. So it was great. It was like you represented me.
Yeah, we were terrible.
Yeah, but it was great, and then, so doing the stand-up, it's huge. So do you find, and I find that, I get so nervous when I do public speaking. I got to go do a keynote or whatever, and I talk about my journey and whatnot. I get so nervous, but I talk about it more, so it's not so secret. But secretively, years ago, I actually really needed it. I needed some sort of a rush, because that's my personality now. So do you find that part of it, like,
yes,
you get out there, you're nervous, you're like, it's kind of like I know when I first came clean, I threw my wife a surprise birthday party, and my best friend, who was in recovery as well, and we've been friends for almost 30 years now, he had turned to me and said, how much are you loving planning the surprise party? I said, this is so much fun. He goes, is it fun because you get to plan a surprise, or is it fun because you get to hide things?
Yeah.
You're doing things secretly.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Yeah. Like he nailed it on the head, right?
Yep.
So do you find that like when you get out there like that, so there's that kind of excitement rush to get out there?
Absolutely.
And do your stand up?
Absolutely. I never craved heroin. And that was really my sweetheart. I never craved heroin. I'm on Suboxone. I'm on Suboxone maintenance, so that's probably why. I don't know. I've never been off it, so I don't know. But I never crave crystal meth. I mean, I didn't mean to say that. But I do crave crystal meth sometimes.
Right.
And I got to be honest, the rush of going up on stage, it triggers that same chakra of like that adrenaline. I don't know what it is, but that has quickly become sort of I don't want to put it like that, but it's kind of my new thing.
Makes sense.
You got to choose. Look, life is all about your addictions. You have to choose them wisely.
Choose them wisely.
Yeah.
Have you tried going on the fitness kick here? So I'm a personal trainer by trade.
Oh, okay.
And you're doing yoga and stuff. Have you done it, gotten into any of that? I know it's popular now, but doing things like cold plunges. Have you done any of that yet?
No, I got to get into it. You know what it is? I got a couple friends that are like fitness gurus, and they invited me to go. Yeah. Actually, Aaron Schwartz from Heavyweights and Mighty Ducks, you know him? He's one of these sons of bitches. Invited me to go work out with him and worked me too hard. I thought I was going to die. So I quit after the first day. And that's what these guys keep doing to me. They don't understand I'm starting off on like below level 1.
Yeah.
So I needed to, I've definitely, pretty much my fitness plan right now is I've got these bands that I use. You know those bands? Yeah. So I'm trying to get a little stronger using those bands before I even try to go into a gym and try to lift weights in there because I'll just look ridiculous. But it's been one thing in my life that I've been.
We're going to talk about when we're done. I'll give you a couple of things. It'll be on me.
Listen, Matt,
my
if
gift
you could help me gain some strength, because I've tried in my life. Like, I think I put like 6 months into it one time and absolutely no noticeable difference. So I kind of got discouraged by that, but I was probably not doing it right. I know there's a lot of little tips and tricks that you can do to really maximum.
Yeah, we'll talk when we're done. I'll go over some. I'll definitely help you. No worries.
All right, good.
I'm happy.
Great.
So, no worries. But the cold plunges. And I think because of the way you talk about, choosing your vices and choosing your drug of choice and your addiction and all that. I'm friends with a guy here. Actually, on one of my podcasts with his name is Robbie Bent. He's got this. It's this spa, but it's like infrared sauna. It's saunas and cold plunges. And he also was in rehab and addiction and recovery. And he used it to help his recovery. Now he's got a business from it.
Totally.
But the fight or flight when you go into a cold bath, and we're talking like not even a bath, we're going to a cold plunge. I can tell you when I went into it, the temperature was about 34 degrees Fahrenheit. And like the ice was not melting. My wife and I did it together. We go in, and I really had my kind of come to Jesus moment where I think I'm going to die. This is where I die.
Wow.
Right. Because it was so cold. It was so cold.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And it was great, but that fight or flight response comes in and you're there, right? And it's the same chemical reactions that you get up in here from all the things we did. So if you're ever looking to try one of those, go with the guys, go with Schwartz and do a cold plunge. You might hate him for it.
Well, no, there's a spot out here. I actually have done that. There's a Korean spot here where you can do that cold plunge. But
yes.
I only did it very briefly, but I would love to be in a situation where that stuff was accessible. I just heard, who was that on the Joe Rogan podcast, that music producer Scott Rubin. He was talking about how much he loves the cold plunges and how it like revolutionized his fitness. So yeah, I'd be definitely interested in hearing more about that. The thing for me.
Well, when you come up to Toronto, I'll take you to a place.
Oh, dude, that's a deal. And I just want to say also, Matt, like the thing that really helped me and helps me recover is the fact that I know now that I can activate all this euphoria and I can release these chemicals on my own without putting an external drug into me. So these things are there waiting for us to unlock them We just have to like close our eyes for a little bit and figure out where the switches are.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we talked when we first started talking before the show started. We talked a bit about, the 4% of people in recovery who make it all the way past a year and don't relapse that first year. You wanted to bring awareness to that. So you wanted to bring awareness to how can we help more people stay the course longer. Number one, are you doing that there where you're living now? Are you trying to help out everybody, be their mentor at all? Are you doing something to really?
I'm always trying to be as helpful
connect
as
with
I
these
can.
guys, or are you thinking?
I'm sorry. What was the end of your question?
Yeah.
No, I'm always trying to be as helpful as I can, and anytime I get into a situation where I can lend myself, I'm always willing. I went the other night to the 10th anniversary event of Rock to Recovery, and that's a great company started by the guitar player Wes from Korn, I guess. And they go around to treatment places and they use music and instruments, and they actually record songs with people, and it's a fantastic system that they have.
Rock to Recovery is an amazing organization.
Dude, they're great. They're absolutely great. So, I told them anytime they need me, I'd be happy to come out and play my harmonica. So I'm as engaged as I can be out here in that community.
That's awesome. Well, you do know because of your story and because everyone knew you as, Mighty Ducks and heavyweights and, King of Queens, and everything else you've done. But when that picture came out a couple years ago of you now, in recovery and you pre-recovery, that also opened up everybody's eyes, right? To, whoa, like, because they're still picturing you this big, right? Like, they're still picturing you, and now you're not a kid. Number one, they take into account that, we all look a bit different than we did when we were younger.
Sure.
But it's like that picture of you before was like leaps and bounds different.
Yeah.
And then where you are now in recovery, that opens up. So that's helping people right there by talking the story and knowing that it is not just, another child actor gone down the wrong path type of thing, right? Because again, like I wanted to point out, we all have trauma. We all got our baggage when we were kids. But your trauma hit in that 7-month period when you were how old?
36.
Right. It's not something that you carried baggage from the Pee Wee Herman days when you were like much younger. Home like this, it was an adult trauma.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm sure there was stuff there, Matthew. I'm sure 100%. There was stuff there. That a qualified therapist could spend hours unpacking. But really, that's not what led to my catastrophic collapse.
We all carry what our parents gave us. And I'll give you an example. Were you ever a Seinfeld fan?
100%.
Okay. I'm going to sum up my parents. You ready? I love them dearly. My mother passed years ago, but I love them dearly. My parents were the Costanzas.
I think there were a lot of people's parents,
Yeah. I guarantee you we could unpack a lot with some therapy, which I did. And I believe in therapy 100%.
Definitely.
But so that's, knowing that where you've been and you are that face, right? Where you get to say which is why I wanted to do the show with you today. Because I really want to get your story out there. I really want people to know that it can happen to anybody because your story didn't happen when you were 12, right? Your big T traumas happened in a short period of time, all at once, or one after the other, with adult issues. That you know what, it can break anybody, and that's like you said, you cracked, right? But then you've got all these great things where I often wonder where, if that period of our lives didn't happen, would we be doing what we're doing now, right?
Matt, I don't have any regrets. As crazy as it sounds for the all that I went through, I wouldn't rewrite the story because I'm proud of who I am at this moment, and I just look at it as, what a life. It is a wonderful life, and crazy things have happened. So, yeah, I to your point, I wouldn't be here without having gone through all of that, and I like here. I like who I am.
Right. That's a big thing. You are now, not that you weren't comfortable with who you were before, but you like who you are now.
Well, now I'm just a better person. I'm trustworthy. I'm reliable. I wasn't those things. I used to lie a lot, I didn't appreciate anything, right? Like I had to lose everything just so I could appreciate anything. I had a BMW M3 and I was a little upset that I didn't have a Ferrari. You get me? So it's just, now I just live differently. Now I'm, like you said, happy to wake up, happy to be alive.
That's not many people are comfortable with themselves. And I think when we've gone through, especially what you've gone through, you tend to kind of be like, I can look in the mirror and I've accepted what's happened and I'm here and I get to do the great things. So that's awesome. I really want to, I blew my mind. So you've got coming up, and I'll put them in my link up when I launch this. But yeah, any shows coming up? Is there anything you want to plug coming up in January, February? I know we got a movie coming out in February.
Yeah, I'd like to, if I could plug anything, it would just be my Instagram, and that's just my name, Shaun Weiss, ShaunWeiss. And people can keep, posted on all my dates and tour stuff and what's going on with my life and stuff. So that's the best place to reach me. I mean, I've had a blast lately doing cameos. I'm loving Cameo. I just started doing that a year ago. So you can hit me up on Cameo. My Cameo reviews have been fire. I will say that.
I actually saw that on your Instagram. You actually said that. My Cameo reviews are the best.
I'm killing it. One girl hired me to break up with her boyfriend. I was like, really? You want Meet Goldberg to do that? All right, put him on.
That's. I would love to see. I would love to see that. That would be a show right there. Like Goldberg's cameos. It's listed that way. That'd be a great.
Maybe I might do that. I might do that. Maybe I could. I could start putting because they're all pretty funny. Like when I do a cameo, it's usually pretty good. And I thought about that, like posting them up on my IG. We'll see what happens. I might.
That's hysterical. Just the one, like break it up with somebody's boyfriend.
And I had another group of guys. They wanted me to give their buddy a pep talk on his upcoming vasectomy.
Oh my God. They're just giving you the material to work on.
Yeah,
they're just giving you some copy.
Yeah, they're telling me they wanted me to tell him, congratulations, you can finally pull the goalie. Pretty good one.
Oh,
pretty good line.
That is so good, man. I am so happy you're able to do this tonight. I want to thank you. I love where you're going. I love all you're doing. You're inspiring so many, and that's again why we're doing Rise Up, right? You're inspiring people that were just not that person you were, right? Like, Rise Up, stories about recovery, resilience, renewal. We're not our past. We get to take our past and stand on it to look towards where we're going in the future, and that's awesome.
Absolutely. And if you are earnestly trying to recover and you are trying to do the right thing, people will forgive you. You can't really tell them I'm doing the right thing and expect them to bend over backwards because they're sick of you by now. They're sick of your lies and your bullshit. But when you actually do turn and change, they'll do nothing but support you. You know what I mean?
That's 100%. Yeah. If you acknowledge who you were and what you're there for, and you are truthful to yourself about it, then 100%, it's great. If you can say one thing on top of that, because that was a big nugget right there. Give me one big thing you want to tell people in recovery or that are about to go into recovery.
Yeah, I think that's my best message. Is people that aren't in recovery. If you're using and you think you're using on kind of a manageable level, what you need to know is there's a certain dimension where it's kind of like a spiritual warfare a little bit. And if you're just dabbling, I'll use a little coke here, I'll do a little this and that, you're just by doing that alone, you're taking yourself out of tune with everything by using these drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you're like using a little bit, I guarantee you, if you take that out of your life, that toxicity, then life and its boundlessness will open up to you in ways that you haven't had before. So if you're using, put it down. If you're thinking about getting a treatment, pick up the phone.
Awesome. Now, if people were looking for, could they reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Say, Shaun, what do I do?
Yeah, you can reach out to me. If you really want help, you can reach out to me for sure.
Awesome. Same thing. If you want help, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. I know Shaun's a lot busier than I am, so I might be a better choice. But if you need, there's always help out there for you. You need to remember that.
Definitely.
So, Shaun, again, I want to thank you for coming on today. Rise Up, Stories of Recovery, Resilience, and Renewal. Shaun, stick around for a few minutes. And again, thank you so much, brother.
It was a pleasure talking with you, man.
All right.
You're listening to Rise Up, Stories of Recovery, Resilience, and Renewal with Matthew Tobe.